This is a beginner's guide to photographing lightning. This is the first in a series of tutorials for photographing lightning. This tutorial involves using a trigger device. If you don't have a trigger or have no interest in purchasing one, there is another method, but the shots just don't come out quite as clear. Many people think shooting or photographing lightning is difficult, but really it's not. You just need to be set up correctly in the right place at the right time with the right equipment or gear. A little bit of luck helps as well. First up, let's talk about gear. Here on the table is everything you need to capture great lightning shots. The only thing that's not here is a tripod. Let's quickly go over everything and explain what it is and what it does. First, we have a camera body. A mirrorless SLR or DSLR will work the best because they offer the widest options and settings. The camera should have manual settings, allow for a shutter release cable to be attached, and you should be comfortable using it and understand how to make adjustments to the ISO, aperture, and exposure or shutter speed. A full-frame camera works best, allowing for a wider picture, but isn't required. You can still use a camera with a crop sensor and get great results. Next up, we have a lens. A wide-angle lens works best because it will give you a higher chance of getting a strike in the frame. It does not have to be an autofocus lens, but it does need to be able to have the ability to focus to infinity. If you're not sure if your lens can do this, look for a sideways 8 on the side of the lens, or look up the lens specs on the manufacturer's website. Next is a lens hood. This lens hood is designed for the lens that I've chosen to take my photos. It's not required, but I do find it reduces the amount of rain spatter I get on the lens while I'm shooting. A lint-free lens wipe is also useful for cleaning water off the lens between shots. A waterproof dimmable flashlight is something I almost always carry in my kit. You never know when you may need light, and in case of a power outage or being in a remote location, conserving your phone's battery is a good precautionary measure. It also allows for using your phone's camera to take videos and photos instead of using it as a flashlight. Last but not least, a trigger device, along with the appropriate shutter release cable for your camera. The trigger should have lightning mode or should have a light sensitivity setting. Using a sound trigger will not work because sound travels slower than light. I use the MIOPS Smart Plus and find it works well day or night. Another popular choice is the Pluto trigger, and there are many other options in different price ranges available on Amazon, eBay, and Lazada. Personally, I find the MIOPS do the job well, and it continually exceeds my expectations. However, you should choose a trigger that is reviewed well by users that have a similar camera to yours and that meets your budgetary requirements. Now let's move on to basic camera settings. The settings you use will make all the difference between a clear, sharp shot, a good but slightly washed out shot. See the top on this one? That's a little bit too bright. And a completely ruined shot that's washed out from being too bright, making you wish you had everything set correctly to begin with. There are several factors you should take into account for each setting. Let's take a look at camera settings and talk about when and where to adjust. Shooting mode is really straightforward. You're going to want to choose manual. Focus should also be set to manual. Your lens, like we talked about earlier, you're going to want to set to infinity. That's the infinity symbol there. It looks like a sideways 8. Exposure, or shutter speed, generally works well at 125ths of a second to 160ths of a second. This setting shouldn't affect the brightness of a bolt, but will determine how sharp the image is. ISO settings. For the ISO, I like to start with 200 and then I adjust. If the strikes are far away, after opening my aperture, I'll increase my ISO. This helps prevent noise. If the strikes are very close, I'll lower my ISO to 100 first, and then I'll start to close the aperture. Again, this is to get as little noise as possible in the black sections of the photo. Aperture settings. I like to start with my aperture set to 7.1. If the shot is too dark, my lens allows me to open the aperture to 4 before needing to increase my ISO. If the shot is too bright, and I've already set my ISO down to 100, I can start by closing the aperture. This means using a higher number, like going from 7.1 to 9. On this particular lens, the farthest I can close the aperture is 22. The final camera setting that we're going to talk about is white balance. The white balance setting just determines the color of the bolts. Cloudier shade will give you a reddish tinge, where fluorescent can give you a bluer look. Shooting in RAW, this can easily be changed in post. The atmosphere and level of pollution will also play a factor here, so I normally use daylight or flash and adjust as needed later. Finally, let's get to the trigger settings. Trigger settings are probably the easiest to set up. The first thing you're going to want to do is set the trigger to lightning mode, or an equivalent light sensitivity mode. Next, you're going to want to adjust the trigger sensitivity. Sensitivity should be set based on the conditions. If the strikes are very close, you can start around 90%. The farther away the strikes are, and more ambient light that's around you, the higher the sensitivity will need to be. In daylight, I have used as high as 99%. One thing to remember with a high sensitivity is flashes in the clouds or out of frame can trigger the camera. This can lead to a lot of black photos. Because of that, it's often good to use a large memory card that can store a lot of photographs. That covers the basics for shooting lightning, setting up the camera, and getting the gear ready. I hope you have found this tutorial informative and it helps to get you started. The next portion will cover shooting and show actual footage and techniques on the camera. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and show your support by subscribing to the Lovin' It on Phuket channel. Look for more tutorials in the future to help you get the most out of your trips to Phuket and beyond. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.